Hello, welcome to the BHM first year course in Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. I'm Dr. Indrajit Bose and I shall be your course coordinator for this session. This subject is entitled Business Communication with the paper code of BHM N102. Now, if you're wondering what this subject is about, it is basically geared towards orienting you to function efficiently in the professional sphere or in the hospital and healthcare sector. Obviously, after completing this course, I think you hope to join the hospital or healthcare sector as a management professional. Now, over there, you shall be required to perform many different roles. You shall be looking after the running of a hospital or nursing home or healthcare facility. You shall have various administrative functions. You shall look after the financial aspects of people's work and payroll. You shall look at the day-to-day running of the administration, patient care, the needs of patients, the interventions by doctors, consultations, OPDs, and also critical care and surgeries, as well as providing medical support and looking after medical stocks and equipments. So, in fact, you should perform a diversity of functions and roles over there as a management professional. And you shall have to perform various reading and writing functions in English on a day-to-day basis in your work. Now, our scope and focus in this subject, business communication, is basically to address these reading and writing needs and certain speaking needs in professional contexts, in professional situations. So, in the course of our lectures on this subject, we should be looking at and addressing the various requirements that you have in business writing, reading, and speaking. Now, in this particular lecture, we are looking at one aspect of business writing, that is, the writing of reports. So, how are reports written? Why are they written? What are the different types of reports? What are the formats that are followed? And what sort of writing strategies are followed in writing reports? This shall be the manner in which we shall be looking at the topic of report writing. Now, report writing in general is a very important subject because, you see, in the professional context and situation, you shall often be required to write reports or send in reports. Now, please do understand that a report is written as a request, or you might say an order, from a person in a higher position to another person who is in a lower position. So you might say that they are commissioned or ordered. Usually, there is a brief inquiry that takes place before the report is written, or there is some research or inquiry that goes into the making of a report. Now, who reads these reports? Who is the audience for the report? Once again, the people who have commissioned these reports or the people in higher authority are the ones who are, again, the ultimate audience for these reports. But of course, there are other kinds of reports as well, which may not have a specialized audience like this. For example, you are familiar with newspaper reports. So, who is the audience for these newspaper reports? No specialized person, but a layman. You, I, everybody, the person in the street. So newspaper reports are for the general public. But professional reports written in the workplace, whether that workplace is a hospital or not, are usually meant for a specialized reader, so they are a bit different. Let us discuss, in general, the significance and the features of reports first, before we say anything more about them. Now, basically, what exactly is a report? It is, in fact, a statement or a compilation of facts of various kinds. Let us say that you have purchased a new Doppler machine in your diagnostic unit in the hospital, and the administration has ordered an inquiry, or you might say, they have asked for a report about the functioning of the diagnostic unit, including the performance of this new machine. So you send in a report about it, right? So basically, you will include facts about the functioning of the new Doppler machine in that report. Now, reports basically deal with facts, and they deal with a certain event or happening or a problem of some kind. So let us say that your patients in the OPD are complaining about long waiting times and that the state of the toilets in the OPD is not very good. So they are unable to make use of them properly. So this is a problem that the patients are talking about in the OPD. So they have talked about it. Okay. So that is a report. So let us say that the administrative officer has asked you as a management of, trainee to go into this problem and to compile a report on the state of the toilets in the OPD. So this is a report which is based on a problem. Or it can be a report like, for example, on child diabetes, a health problem. So who are the children affected? So children in which kind of age groups? How to deal with the disease? Now these facts are analyzed, classified in the report, and they contain in-depth studies which help in decision making. So ultimately, based on what you have discussed regarding the findings on why the state of the toilets is not very good in the OPD, the measures that will be taken by the administration to improve the state, that will be actuated by the inquiry that you bring about. So the decision-making process is aided by your inquiry in the report. So reports tell us what to do, what steps to take, and how to deal with various situations and crises. If we didn't have the reports, we wouldn't know what to do or what steps to take. So they are immensely useful and beneficial for us. Now, reports are basically objective collections of data. There is no subjectivity in the report. It is impersonal, it is factual, it's an accurate study of the facts. And as I said, it is objective. So the first person or I does not intrude in the writing of the report. And it has to be accurate because an important aspect of the report is its verifiability. By verifiability, I mean that the facts which form the body of the report should be verifiable. That is, if they are cross-checked, they should all turn out to be exactly what they are stated. If there is any problem with the accuracy, then the credibility of the entire report will be lost or it will stand questioned. So you have to be very careful about giving accurate facts in the body of the report. Basically, reports are informative, they are research based because they deal with detailed or in-depth analysis of a certain topic or problem, and some kind of methodology for analysis and evaluation of the facts or problems are used in the reports. Obviously, the implications for the studies that are carried on in the reports are extremely wide-ranging. Sometimes they may be even global in importance. And of course, speaking as a management personnel in a hospital or healthcare facility, the wider implications of whatever reports you are preparing in your workplace would extend to the public domain, basically, because you are dealing with patients. Please do not forget this when you are working as a management personnel, and your patients are the general public. So, whatever you discuss about them or whatever you talk about them really affects the public and addresses public concerns for the present and for many years to come. So, it's very, very significant. Also, the factual data that is contained in reports might also be presented in the form of bar charts, graphs, pie charts, and so on. So statistics or statistical data in the form of charts and graphs might readily be present in the report. If they are there, then they also have to be explained. There needs to be a key given. The charts or graphs need to be labeled properly, explaining what they are about. And in the body of the report, the related explanation needs to be given, because obviously the chart or graph is not going to be self-explanatory. And in the title page or index, the list of these charts or graphs needs to be also given with the relevant page numbers if it's a large report. Now, reports basically are precise, accurate. They are based upon observation and detailing, and they have to be also reader friendly. Now, certain reports, as I have mentioned, in the workplace or in the professional context, especially the formal reports, which are long reports like progress reports or the feasibility studies or information reports or the reports based on problems, they are usually directed towards a person in higher authority as their reader. So they have a specialized reader, you might say. But still, they have to be organized in a way that it is reader friendly. So how to do that? By using a sufficiently large sized font, good spacing and margins, clear typeface, bold headings, conveniently dividing chapters into sections, subsections with headings numbered properly. So it looks neat and tidy and very systematic. Arranging the sections properly, the content, dividing the content into chapters in a systematic way, providing notes or glossary and the glosses on technical terms, also illustrations or diagrams wherever it is necessary. So in this way, we can make it reader friendly also by using a style which is, of course, impersonal, but also interesting and engaging to read and presents the subject of the report in an interesting way. Also, the language that is used should be clear and understandable. Obviously, because especially formal reports or long reports are intended for specialized readers, some use of professional jargon is inevitable in such reports. However, as far as possible, unnecessary use of jargon needs to be avoided. They should be clear and understandable and lucid and easy to read as far as is practical. And the suitable format or template needs to be followed at all times without any variation. Now, there are lots of types of reports. One of the simplest and easiest types of reports, which you will often have to turn in, is a short report, which is given in the form of a letter or a memo. So it's little more than a formal letter. which encloses the report. For example, report on the administration of the outpatients department. Okay. So, functioning of outpatients department in a certain week. So there's a brief report. So I can enclose it in the form of a letter or even just a memo. But there are also more detailed reports, and I'm going to look at these because you will have to know how to write them. And possibly you may not have written reports like this before. So there is a certain structuring which you have to follow for these long and formal reports. What is that? Now these formal reports are more detailed. They may contain a title page or a separate page with the title, the author's name, affiliation, the person to whom it is dedicated, and other details. A letter of transmittal, I will explain what this is in a few moments. A table of contents, a list of illustrations. So more detailed, actually, compared to a short letter report or a memo report. Also information reports, which collect the information for the reader, like for example, patient information or information about the hospital infrastructure, administration, and so on. Analytical reports, which interpret the data but do not recommend any action. For example, annual reports or audit reports. Again, there are recommendation reports also, which recommend some action or solution. For example, feasibility studies, justification reports, problem-solving reports, and so on. You will find that there are often many reports which are of the problem-solving type, which you will have to turn in the management field, in the administration of large hospitals. So over there, obviously, there will be a recommendation section in your report where suggestions are given on the basis of the studies which are conducted in the report. Now, see, here are some simple formats for the long reports. Like the information report, for example, you have a title, you have introduction, body, conclusion. It's organized in paragraphs. There are subtitles. Some technical language is used. Some descriptive words are used. A lot of factual information is presented, and it is in the present tense. So basically, this is very simple. This is a simple format. But you also have a more detailed long report where there are several sections, like an executive summary, a table of contents, introduction, the body of the report, conclusion, and recommendations. Let us see how to write this kind of report. Yes, this is the format of the long report. So I'm going to discuss this format in brief before we look at the writing process, and then I will again come back to the format when I will talk by giving an example or a sample of the long report. Now, each report, of course, has a specific format. Now, some of these long reports have a specific format, which is like this. There is a title page, which includes information about the title of the report, the person to whom it is dedicated, or let us say the commissioning authority, then the name of the writer of this report, and affiliation and other details. Then there is a title, there is an introduction which talks about the background, which talks about the terms of reference, briefly summarizes the findings, and again presents some data over there. The methods or procedure which are followed in the report, the findings or the research that goes into the making of the report, discussion, that is the main section of the report, together with the analysis of graphs, charts, and other data, and the recommendations at the end, which are based on the findings. Now we will be discussing more about the format in a few minutes, but first we need to look at a few details about the writing process and also the methods which are followed in writing the report. Now, when you start structuring the report, the first thing to keep in mind is that how you will define the problem or objective in the report. What is the purpose of writing this report? And what exactly does the reader want from the report? So, information, data, or analysis, what is it that the reader wants? For example, if you write a report on the patient management system, I shall be giving you a sample report on the patient management system and certain problems in handling that. You suppose the reader wants to know how certain problems in the patient management system can be overcome. Now, first you establish the hypothesis. If the waiting time, for example, can be reduced, overall patient admission and satisfaction will improve. This is the hypothesis for the report on patient admission. We will seek data to fill in the report, primary as well as secondary. The primary data includes different kinds of survey or information collected from surveys, interviews of people, and so on. And the secondary data includes historical information or information from the background, other references, and so on. Then, of course, once we have collected all this, we start drafting the report. Now, as an example, I have a report on the patient management system of Jaswant Singh Medical Center in Gwalior, MP. Okay, I shall be talking about this. But first, as I said, I would just briefly talk about the writing process first, before we talk about the structure of the report. Yes, this is a diagrammatic representation of the writing process of the report. So first, we determine what is the objective, why the report is to be written. Then, the planning stage, or planning out the contents of the report. Then, the information gathering process, collecting all the pieces of information which are relevant to preparing the report. Then, that information is organized properly, structured, and a first draft is prepared. Once the draft is prepared, obviously we go through it, edit it, and the editing process and the final submission and redrafting then takes place. So this is the brief representation of the writing process. We can say that different strategies are involved in writing. For example, planning out the objective, doing the research, which includes collecting data, filling in of questionnaires, undertaking field trips, or field trips are study trips which are taken, observation reports, and books and research reports. So a lot of research work needs to be done in preparing a report. Now you can prepare a rough draft in certain stages, write it in, and then make a fair draft, a final draft. Now revise the first draft, edit and check for the accuracy of the factual details, cite the correct sources, check the grammar, the spelling, punctuation, and other details of language, and follow the format very, very carefully. Now, I'm going to take up the sample of a formal report and explain to you how it is written. This will enable us to understand better the process of writing the report. Now, let me just go back and refer back to the title page of this sample report. Yes, this is the title of this report. It is a report on the patient management system of Jaswant Singh Medical Center. This is the name of the facility in Gwalior, MP, by Shambuddha Ghosh. He is the author of the report. He is a hospital management supervisor. Fine. So how does the report begin? First, there is, of course, the title page and the letter of transmittal. What is there in the letter of transmittal? The letter of transmittal is nothing else but a formal letter where the writer of the report addresses the person who has commissioned the report, or the person in authority who has commissioned the report, and states that the investigation or the research has been completed and the findings are documented in the body of the report which is being submitted for perusal. And it is just a letter which follows the format of a formal or official letter. Is signed by the writer of the report. So this is a kind of cover letter for the report which is included in the body of the report at the very beginning. Then you have the executive summary. Before you have, you might have certain other things, preliminaries like preface or acknowledgements in the table of contents. In the table of contents, you follow the contents page like you have in books, the chapter contents or headings, followed by the page numbers, relevant page numbers in sequence. Okay. Then you start with the actual report where you have the summary section. What is the summary? Now, the summary, we can say, is a brief gist of the problem, the statement of the problem, the findings in the report, and the solutions or the recommendations which are given. So it's a kind of neat synopsis or summarization of the whole or entire report. Let's see what is the summary of the report that I referred to. The present report emerges out of a review of the patient admission process in Jaswant Singh Medical Center, Gwalior, MP, and the long-standing complaints of delays causing bottlenecks in admission procedures. So it seems that patients over there in that medical facility have long been complaining about extreme delays in admission. Data was compiled from in-house patients admitted from January to March 2019 with sampling from 200 and also past records between the years 2014 to 19. The problems created by delays were examined and some reasons for the delays explored. The report confirmed the patient problems and suggested some remedies for solving the problem of patient delays in admission. Okay, fine. So the problem is about patient delays in admission. So people have been complaining. There has been data compiled from sampling of representative data from 200 patients admitted between January and March. Also, looking at past records for the last 5 years, 2014 to 19. Some remedies are also suggested. Fine, this is the summary. The most often you will find that administrative personnel, if they are hard pressed for time, will not go through your entire report line by line or page by page. They might just flip through the report and go through certain sections. Now, this summary section is a section that they will all be reading, so it has to be written carefully. Then you have the next important section is the introduction. Let's read the introduction, see what are the points covered over there. The report emerges out of a long-standing grievance of patients in the hospital. While patients are happy with the quality healthcare provided here, they are unhappy about the long waiting times and delay in admissions. They have written complaint letters, and even a news report has mentioned this in the Gwalior Times of 12th October. The problem is seriously damaging the hospital's reputation and needs to be addressed. So this is the nature of the problem, and you can see how serious it is. This is what is given at the very beginning. The problem is especially pronounced as a large number of patients are from the adjoining rural belt of Chhindwara, Jhansi, Morena, and Kalapatthar. Patients arrive in large numbers as there are inadequate facilities in the district health centers. Often they are illiterate and do not possess proper identification or medical records. So if they don't have medical records, then it's difficult to give them admission instantaneously. Diagnostic tests have often to be conducted before admission. They do not have provisions for many diagnostic tests because the medical facilities or healthcare facilities in their villages are extremely limited. So diagnostic tests have often to be conducted before admission. They also need form filling assistance because they are uneducated or ill-educated people and they cannot fill in official forms, especially the lengthy forms need to fill in before patient admission. The CEO of the hospital ordered an inquiry into the problem in January and ordered the submission of a report by March. This report is aimed at making a full-fledged inquiry into the process and finding ways of speeding up the admission procedure so that the overall quality standards can be improved. So, what are the points that we have covered in introduction? First, there is a discussion about the problem, the nature of the problem and its significance. Then, more details. So, first the background, then details about the problem and the studies which have been made, the sources which have been drawn upon in compiling the report. Also, the terms of reference. What is meant by the phrase terms of reference? Terms of reference usually means the context, the immediate context for the writing of the report. Who has ordered the report? Who has written the report? And where is it presented? Is there any team which has worked on the report? So these are certain basic details which are covered in the terms of reference. So we have the background, the statement of the problem, the findings, the sources, and the terms of reference in this report. Now, then you come, of course, to the body of the report. The report consulted the patients admitted in-house from January to February end. Surveys were taken from 200 patients, from those admitted in general wards, both male and female, as well as patients in emergency and the critical care unit. 60% of patients complained of some delay, 10% complained of inordinate delay, and 30% spoke of routine delays. A survey was also conducted from the officers and admissions section. 80% of all staff members spoke of routine delays, while 20% declined. So these are the findings of the report. This is a brief synopsis of what work has been done or research has been done in preparing this report. So surveys have been conducted or interviews of patients and officials have been taken. Past records of the hospital in the records section were also consulted from 2014 to 19. So past records of the last 5 years. In the archive section, patient feedback analysis charts showed delay in admission was one of the reasons for patient dissatisfaction. 20% of patients wrote letters and even agitated before the medical superintendent in 2017 and 18. So it's been a long-standing problem, it's been a recurring problem, and there has been very little solution which has been possible to this problem. Now, studies and investigation revealed that 90% of the admitted patients were from the adjoining rural districts, and they had the following problems: poor literacy level. Many of them were school dropouts. They needed assistance in form filling and with medical procedures. Often, they cannot produce identification documents in time. So naturally, this will delay the admission procedure. There are no primary health centers in Chhindwara, Gurgaon, and Pasiwara districts. So there is no provision for CT scan or digital X-rays. In these places, patients need to undergo investigations before admission. So this will further slow up the admission process to undergo medical tests and diagnostic tests before being admitted. But actually, if they have not undergone these tests before, there is really no other option before the hospital. There is no provision for CT scan or digital X-rays in these rural health centers, and patients need to undergo investigations. Due to procedural delays, patients undergo harassment, sometimes their condition even worsens. So it's very serious. Then we come, of course, to the conclusion of the report. The following conclusions were reached as a result of the report investigation. There exists a genuine bottleneck in the admission procedure. Owing to preliminary investigation, delay in the form filling and long queues of mostly rural patients, there are huge delays in admission. Patients are getting frustrated. Hospital staff are powerless to control the situation but have to suffer equally. The hospital is getting a bad reputation apart from patient inconvenience. The lower patient satisfaction levels will seriously lower the quality standards consistently maintained by hospitals. Naturally, if this patient dissatisfaction with the slow admission process continues for longer periods of time, then naturally it will be a glaring lacunae in the quality of medical facilities provided by this hospital. So it needs to be immediately addressed and settled. Now, certain recommendations are made in the report as a result of the study and investigation. Setting up of a separate 100-bedded wing in the hospital, especially to manage the patient's inflow. So, setting up a diagnostic unit and extension center of the hospital in the 3 rural districts of Chhindwara, Gurgaon, and Pasiwara, where many of the patients are from. Simplifying the form fill-up process if they are neoliterate or illiterate people, filling in complicated and detailed forms is not viable for them. To make it a single page or simplify the number of questions that they have to answer. Tell the people about the proper documentation that they need and what documents they need to bring if they come to get somebody admitted. So these are certain recommendations which are made in the body of the report, at the end of the report, which are geared towards giving us both short-term and long-term solutions for these problems in the patient admission. So this is a sample problem-based report which I wanted to share with you to show the writing process and the format that is followed in the writing of the report. Now, as a hospital management trainee or as a personnel, administrative officer in the future, you will be required to write lots of reports. Reports on the working of the administration, report on the infrastructure, report on the finances. So anything and everything in the running of the hospital should be at your fingertips. And you have to instantaneously, often, sometimes, both short and long reports in the day-to-day running of the hospital. These are some of the things to keep in mind. Try to be objective and impersonal in writing the report. Keep the language simple. Avoid the unnecessary use of jargon. Keep it reader friendly. Use the present tense. Try to use simple and uncomplicated constructions. Avoid ambiguities in the use of language. Keep it simple, clear, and straightforward as far as is practical. So these are some things to keep in mind. Do the research work for the report carefully. Collect the findings properly and present it in the form of graphs, charts, diagrams, which make it neat and systematic. Remember that all the data that goes into the writing of the report should be verifiable and should be authentic. So if you have done your research carefully, if you have gathered your information in a sincere way, if you have represented it faithfully in the report and written the report well following the format, then you have really done an excellent job. So I hope that I've been able to clarify for you the process of writing of the report to a great extent. And I hope that this lecture will go a long way towards helping you in writing crisp and efficient reports in your workplace in the years to come. So this brings us to the end of this lecture on business communication.